guys, I'm back, and today we have such an exciting video planned. As you know, I've been diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder and factor 1 psychopathy. Do you know who else had factor 1 psychopathy? Ted Bundy. I'm going to be reacting to one of his interviews. This is one of the most notorious serial killers of all time. I think I have a very unique perspective on this. I'm going to get into all of the manipulations, all of the things we have in common. Let's jump in.
Why did you decide to defend yourself?
I began thinking about that way back in Utah. I had a year to study criminal law in action, and I have a lot of I'm a very biased person, and I have a lot of strong opinions about how things should be done. And when I came here, I think that my opinions were established at the point where the method that my attorneys wished to impose here and my own did not agree.
Okay, so in this segment, it is clear that he's trying to manipulate the reporter who's talking to him, because he's explaining why he's the only person who can defend him. And it strikes me as odd that he thinks that people won't see the manipulation. You'll see that he raises his eyebrows a lot, his eyes go wide. That's when he's trying to convince you of something, because he's trying to make you believe that eye contact is something special and it's meaningful. And hopefully you forget the rest because you're charmed by the smile.
And theirs were right for them, and mine are going to be right for me. I have the greatest amount of confidence that, at least in the preparation stage, that my ideas will work. And believe me, I'm not standing here alone.
Now, here, you see his grandiosity. You see his narcissism. You see it just coming into force with the smile that he has on his face and the way that he knows he's feeding this woman bullshit. It's actually quite funny if you look at it and you really evaluate it by turning off the sound.
Just called a half a dozen attorney friends of mine today. Every day I get input. Every day I ask questions. But the reason I went on my own is because I just felt it was time. I felt it was right. I wanted to get involved. I wanted to become a part of my defense because I am such a part of it. I mean, I obviously I'm going to bear the consequences, so why not bear the responsibility of seeking my own acquittal and sustaining my own innocence.
Ted, when you left...
So here, you'll notice that Ted's eyes go straight up to the camera and then back. They dart up and down. And he has every intention of trying to make you, as the viewer, feel connected to him. But the problem is that there's nothing genuine about what Ted is saying. Nothing at all. If you actually listen, there's absolutely no substance in what he's saying. Now, this is something that I really resonate with because I try to connect with people who I naturally don't feel any connection to. I have used these manipulations myself. Like, whenever I have something important to say, I will raise my eyebrows and create that eye contact that seems like an actual bond to people. So it's not that he's inherently evil for what he is, because you can't really fix that, but obviously he took a very specific path that makes him irredeemable as a human.
Salt Lake, when you were extradited, you issued a statement saying you feel that everything will turn out all right, that you are innocent. Do you still feel that?
Yeah, more than ever. Of course, you can't help.
This smile is genuine, but he's also touching his mouth because he's trying to not sound too arrogant. He's trying to conceal what he actually wants to say. And at this point, I do think Ted is delusional enough to think that he will get away with these crimes. Because if you really look at it, he was just driving poorly. That's the only reason he ever got caught for anything. So he's in this seat. He's like, his narcissism is up in the stratosphere. His whole demeanor is like, what are you gonna do about it? And the thing is, like, if none of that DNA was found, if none of that reporting had been connected, he probably would have gotten away with it for a very, very long time. And the expressions I see on his face, they really, really seem like the expressions I make when I'm trying to convince someone of something, or when I'm trying to act like I'm not affected by what's going on around me. I won't say that happens too often because I generally have that sort of flatness where I don't care, but his freedom and his life is at stake because obviously he's in Colorado, which is a death penalty state. But when he's laughing, he's actually laughing. He's got his smile reaches the eyes. You will notice at times that his eyes do not light up when he smiles. But for this section, they actually do.
But I never, of course, you can't help but become an advocate for yourself when you're so involved in the case. And being a good defense attorney, and I'm not pretending I'm an attorney, but putting yourself in a position of being your own.
He is very much trying to pretend he's an attorney, okay? Let's put that out there. He thinks he is superior to these people. He thinks his failed law degree is superior to the credentials of the people who actually have completed law degrees and those who've done well in the field.
It's that positive psychology. You're going to do it. You're going to do it because you're right. You're going to do it because the person you're representing is innocent. It just happens to be, in this case, I've got a lot of stake, and the person I'm representing is myself, and I'm working all the harder. Yeah, I feel good about it, and yes, I feel that I'm right, and yes, I feel I'm going to make it. No doubt in my mind.
The repetition is not him trying to convince the interviewer, it's him trying to convince himself. And I know this because when I'm in times of stress, I'll repeat things to myself because I think if I say it enough, it's gonna happen. And if he's delulu enough to think that he's not going to the chair or getting an injection at this point, he's genuinely thinking that he is able to deceive people to this extent. It's crazy, but he's actually trying to deceive himself.
There's always one thing that amazed me, as you know, I
Again, watch his eyes go to the camera. He's talking directly to you.
covered your trial, and I was there every day. When you, when the judge found you guilty of second-degree kidnapping, you never showed any emotion.
Do you see the smile? Because I see the smile. That's genuine joy on his face. He's genuinely happy. And that's how I smile when I get to buy a new cherry pie or I get another cat. It's when I'm truly, truly at the point of extreme joy, extreme happiness. And he's getting that out of, well, essentially murdering lots of girls and women. As psychopaths and sociopaths, we tend to see things as all or nothing. So if we're not excellent at something, we are horrific at it. If he's not incredibly good, he's evil. That's how we think, and we can see that through Ted as well. So we see how psychopathy hasn't changed over the ages.
Emotion.
Yeah.
For somebody who believes he is so innocent, why was there no emotion?
My attorney.
This is the most important part. Now, here you see his grandiosity. You see his narcissism. You see it just coming into force with the smile that he has on his face and the way that he knows he's feeding this woman bullshit. It's actually quite funny if you look at it and you really evaluate it by turning off the sound. Let me tell you, he's having plenty of them because I would have plenty of them. I would think that I'm smarter than the authorities too, because generally criminals they outsmart the police very well.
John O'Connell in Salt Lake, and I've always mused over just how I should behave. What's the right way for Ted Bundy to behave and make sure that people get the right impression? And I just behaved the way I felt was right. Okay, let me take the day of March 1st, 1976, the day that the judge rendered his verdict in my case first. I didn't show any emotion because, you know, what am I supposed to do? Am I going to jump up on the table? Am I going to scream? That's what I felt like doing. I heard my mother crying. It's an emotional time. I don't even like to think of that day.
He was so emotional because his personal liberty was at stake. But he says he acted the way he wanted to act. He acted the way that he genuinely felt, and that his emotions could never be correct. But the reason his emotions are not correct here, he doesn't care about Carol Durant, okay? He doesn't care. He only cares about how he is perceived. And so when he is perceived in court, in front of his mother, in front of the Republicans who backed him because they believed he couldn't do such a thing, it's crazy. It is honestly crazy. But he is very convincing in what he's doing.
But I wasn't going to give these people who went out and built a case around a non-existent eyewitness, an eyewitness identification that was built by the police. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of seeing me break down. And
you see, right there, I was not going to give them the satisfaction of watching me break down. This is the narcissism. It's embarrassing to be seen as a deviant, a sexual deviant, or someone who goes around kidnapping women. He's trying to save his reputation here, even though he knows what he is. But he doesn't want to give you any satisfaction, and he won't. That's why he doesn't react when you want him to react.
Sure I'm mad, and I'm showing emotion right now because inside I'm mad. But I've kept it together because there's no point in destroying myself. I have got to keep myself together. I have got to stay calm. I've got to keep my presence of mind, because as long as I do that, I'm going to beat these people. And that's the way I feel.
He thinks he's going to beat these people. He repeats 3 times to himself that he needs to keep himself composed. He needs to keep himself defended, essentially, because he thinks that repetition will make it true. But you start to see the stress underneath at that point, because there is stress there. And I'm not one who actively shows when I'm stressed. I'm pretty good at keeping it contained. And this is exactly how I would answer if I was in his situation.
I showed no emotion. I felt emotion, believe me. Now, the irony comes here. When Carol DeRoche, the kidnapping victim from Utah, came to testify in this preliminary hearing here, I was beside myself with rage. She is turning into a professional witness as far as I'm concerned. She is a prosecution witness. And when I heard her go through that routine that I had heard 3 times before, I had restrained myself every time.
He says he restrained himself. He got very emotional. The emotion that he had was rage. So not any sort of belief that he had done something wrong or any sort of shame from his family and community. He's angry about the emotions that he felt and wasn't allowed to display, because he thinks that there's a certain playbook that you need to follow, which all sociopaths and psychopaths do. We don't naturally have the same thoughts and expressions and empathy as you. So this is a very specific way that psychopaths and narcissists talk.
I couldn't do it this time. And I told my attorney, I said, I'm going to get up. And I got up and I pointed at the judge and I pointed at her and I said, she's lying. She's lied 3 times before and she's lying now. And I felt it. And he pulled me down and he says, listen, he says, you can't do that. And I said, okay, but I had to do it for once. For once I had to do it. And do you know something? People say, Ted Bundy didn't show any emotion. There must be something in that. I showed emotion. You know what people said? See, you really can get violent and angry. There's no right way for me to act. I act, and I don't care what people think about how I act. I act according to the way I think is right and best for me at the time. And I'm not going to...
He says there's no right way for him to react, and that when he gets emotional, people say, see, look how emotional and violent he is. But he doesn't realize the irony in that. Like, at what point do you completely lose touch with reality? Because he's at that point now. It's actually quite confusing. But then again, I have to tell you that we don't genuinely know how to react here. Like, we don't know which game to play to get everybody on board, especially if it's such a heinous crime, which it was against Carol DeRoche. He's blamed her for being a professional victim. He's basically put the onus on her when he literally was the one who kidnapped her and tried to unalive her. Just saying. But he's very, very good at deflecting blame. He's very good at building rapport with the interviewer. He's very good at his fake laughs and fake smiles. He's doing a good job here.
These people or impress people, because quite frankly, the amount of bias and prejudice that surrounds me as a media image, I can't begin to tear down. Not with this interview or 100 interviews.
Ted, do you believe?
He has a point here. There's nothing he can do to repair the reputation at this point. And this becomes relevant now too. Whenever a celebrity gets attacked and then everybody else jumps onto the bandwagon, there's no convincing them of anything else. There is no point in ever appeasing an angry mob of people. No matter how much you grovel, it's never going to be enough. That's why I would never try it. I don't give a fuck. I'm not trying. And I think he's kind of resigned to that point too.
I'm a person from the media, other people here.
That was a fake smile. That was a fake smile.
Do you believe that we created you, that it's our fault, that we created this image of the mass murder? Is that what you're saying to us?
Well, I think in the course of doing your job, you did.
He literally did blame her. He said, I don't want to blame, but essentially it's your fault. It's your fault. Inadvertently, but it's your fault that I'm a monster. This guy's crazy.
Not in a malign way, not in a personal vendetta against me, but in the course of publishing the material and broadcasting the material coming out of the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office or the Salt Lake County Prosecutor's Office, you began to plant the seed in people's minds. Now, that may be your constitutional right and duty as well as, your livelihood. But I think in the process, you did create a media image of me that's far beyond, the reality of me.
You did create a media image of me. And what image is that, Ted? What image is that? That you're a monster? That you killed a lot of people? I think they were right in their portrayal. Just saying.
That's far beyond, the reality of me.
As John O'Connell called the Bundy monster?
That's what he called it. I suggested to John we ought to get Mattel to make little dolls that walk and say, I'm the Bundy monster.
Ted, let me ask you this.
That was genuine joy. He likes the idea of a little Bundy monster. I don't really blame him. I'd love to be known as the little Kanika monster and have little, toys that would represent that. What are they called? Funko Pops? So if anyone's in the business of making these, please do one for me.
You totally believe you're innocent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not questioning that. My question to you is...
Look at how soulless those eyes are. Seriously, look. This man has blue eyes. They don't look very blue.
How did it come to be that Ted Bundy could be involved in some of these things and has now been charged, convicted once, is now facing first-degree murder charges, and as you know, is being suspected in other murders? How did Ted Bundy come out?
This look that he shoots her is one of utter contempt and disgust. I know this because this is the look I would make if I was compelled to feel such disgust and hatred for something, and contempt. I mean, I know contempt is one of my major, emotions, but this is kind of another layer of it because she's bringing it back to you're a monster instead of letting him play this jovial, fun guy act who is just trying to defend himself. You know what I mean?
Where did he come out? Where did he come from?
That's a very long story, and I really can't. If I knew the answers to that question, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I'd be back in Salt Lake with a new trial, and one day I'll have those answers, and one day I'll have a new trial. Okay, but I don't know why. Okay, I can't begin to understand why. I know that there's a lot of police ego on the line. I know that a lot of men in the detectives division in Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office jobs.
Now he's trying to shift blame to, okay, maybe it wasn't the reporters. Maybe it was the cops. Maybe the cops are at fault. Anyone but me.
Are on the line. I know that it's a long time ago it ceased to be an issue as whether or not I was innocent or guilty. The issue is now is can we pin it on him? Can we follow through and maintain our reputation as law enforcement officers? And I'll tell you, as long as they attempt to keep their heads in the sand about me, there's going to be people turning up in canyons, and there are going to be people being shot in Salt Lake City because the police there aren't willing.
Again, the blame towards the police intensifies. The way that Ted says they'll start finding dead bodies in canyons, dead bodies in the streets. He knows this because he was the one dumping those bodies. And now he's trying to make the police force look incompetent and holding him without reason while the real killer is getting away. To be fair, it was the 70s. There were a lot of killers at the time, but most of his kills have been confirmed. So
To accept what I think they know, and they know that I didn't do these things.
yes, Ted, you did do those things. And you know you did those things, and they know you did those things. It was just very hard to prove.
And, excuse me.
Okay, then how do you exist every day? How do you keep your sanity?
Well,
Or are you keeping your sanity? You're a young man, you're
Yeah.
intelligent, obviously. How do you stay in that little cell and stay sane?
They gave me a year's training course in that, from March 1st of '76 until I was extradited to Colorado. I was locked up. I had a lot of time to work on being locked up. It wasn't easy at first, but now it's easy. I mean, they made me hard inside, and I can spend time in there. I don't like it.
They've made him hard inside. This is the guy who said that he's the most cold-hearted son of a bitch you'll ever meet. Somehow I don't think it was him being imprisoned. Although now he's saying it's easy to be in prison because now he can really work on himself and feeling good. It's just himself.
I'll never like it, and I'll never accept it. But I can deal with it because I know how to, let's say,
Have you trained your mind?
train the mind. That's the word I was going to use, but it's not exactly training your mind. It's just creating your own environment in here, okay? And not looking at the ceiling, not looking at the wall, and not thinking about the...
Okay, this is actually really important. So Ted is very special in the art of compartmentalizing. And this is also something that I share with him. I can compartmentalize pretty much anything.